Hi, friends. So I popped on live a little bit early just so I can go ahead and go live over on Facebook too and give everybody a chance to get here and see today's video. So if you're watching the replay, awesome. If you're here live, also awesome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are talking more about zoning your home. And I'm just going to make sure all my settings are good here. Yep. Awesome. And that I can see you okay and hear you okay. Hello, Ellen, you are here. That's exciting. Oh, thank you so much. I'm hoping Facebook's participating. It looks like it's actually going over there. I got the stream key working out this time. I just re-added it as a location right before this started, and then I got two things going live here. So I'm working it. Hello, Margot. Hello, Grace. Hello, Jenny. Getting the hang of this StreamYard and also using the stream key to go to Facebook. Feeling real proud of myself right now. It's very, very exciting. Yeah, just so happy to have you guys here. I have not gotten I mean I have gotten rest, but sometimes we've been getting a lot of calls like in the middle of the night, and then I can't say it's been slow because as soon as I say that, which I just said, that's when we end up getting another call. I would say like 3 times a week I probably get a call. So it's not every day by any means, but sometimes when we do get a call, especially that we've had 2 house fires now, it's hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and then you got to get back and you got to refill the oxygen tanks, like the air tanks, and check the truck, and wash the truck, and just do all the safety things. So it's like it's long, but everybody works other jobs, right? It's not just me. This is everybody's part-time job. So we're all tired. I kept saying to my husband, he's like, "Hi, Linda on Facebook." I keep saying to my husband, like, "I didn't know there'd be so many fires." You know what I thought? I thought there would be more medical calls. Um, but the ambulance always beats us there. So we don't get called to like just any medical call. We really only get a call if somebody's trapped in something or if they're having a heart attack and we're close. So, most of the time, it's a fire, and there's, like, a lot of fires for some reason. Field fires, car fires, and a lot of cutting people out of cars when there's a car accident. If it's all squoosh, you gotta use the cutter and the spreader. So, I don't know what I was thinking, but I'm getting used to it. I'm getting used to it, and then when you get back, if it's in the middle of the night and you've just, like, fought a literal fire, you can't fall asleep because the adrenaline, right? And then the alarm goes off at 9. There's been a couple times I've just stayed up all night long and then worked all day. It's been nuts. But I'm not complaining. I don't want to seem like I'm complaining. We are talking about zoning your home. I'm just going to give everybody a few more seconds to join. We actually talked about zoning your home and we did it on paper. I showed you how to zone on paper back in January as part of our live training. So if you've missed that one, I definitely recommend going back and checking that out because the truth is, I personally feel like zoning is probably the most important part of organization, and it's honestly one that most people don't really think about. And a lot of people aren't thinking about when they're setting up their home in general. So it's not just about how you sort things into little containers. It's not about really the sorting, putting things in alphabetical order, blah, blah. Like that's great. But zoning comes first, and zoning is so, so important. So let's just jump right in. I want to talk about these are basically the 4 steps to getting organized. So, step 1 is obviously declutter. As you know, we talk about ad nauseum. Hello, Frida, I see you over there on Facebook as well. And then we plan your zone. So you zone your home kind of on paper or just in your mind. You like come up with all your zones. Then you can kind of gather the supplies for that, sort, and then contain. Now, most of the time, I kind of switch these contain and gather sort around. I oftentimes will sort into a container. So I will get the containers that fit the space. And then when I'm organizing and sorting, I'm actually doing it into the container. So I don't sort into piles first. I get containers that fit my space and then I sort into those containers. But either way, oh, thank you. Ellen posted zone training. Zoning is like the most important step. So what does that look like? Like this is I think where a lot of people don't really understand it. It's complicated for me to kind of describe it. So again, seeing that zoning on paper, but I just want to walk you through some examples of what I mean with recent client visits. So what I've been doing is scouting houses to do some more makeover content in January. So I've reached out to my community. A lot of people have applied, and I've been going to different people's homes to tour their house to see if we can pick them for a makeover. The truth is, not everybody will get picked. 99% of people I don't end up going to because they failed the hoarders test. We've talked about the hoarders test, and I can talk about that in a second if you want to learn more about the hoarders test. So they've either failed the hoarders test or they have a space that doesn't have enough existing framework for me to be able to organize without having to buy all new furniture, to have to completely, like, if they don't have any, I usually will spend around $1,500. I'll donate to them. If there's nothing in the space, though, I'm not spending $10,000 on a makeover. So those are kind of my things. So I haven't, the point is I'm seeing all these people, but I'm not going to be choosing all these people. But what I notice in every single one of these homes is that no one is zoning. So an example is I walk into this lovely person's home and there's just toys all over the floor. There's toys, toys, toys. There's like crayons and markers and things all over the table. They have two kids and there's just toys everywhere in the living room. And I was like, and she's like, I always tell my kids to pick up. I want them to clean up their toys and they never do. And it looks like this all the time. And I want them to clean up their toys and I end up having to clean it up. And my initial thought, and I actually said this out loud to her, was if I was to come in this room and clean it up, I wouldn't be able to either. And I'm a grown up because there's no place to clean this up to. Where do these toys go? And she said, oh, they go in their room. So then I said, okay, let's take a tour of their room. So I walk into their room and there's one basket on the floor that's really small that in no way would ever hold all the toys that are everywhere. It's already full. And I said, well, where did the toys go? And she said, oh, sometimes we like shove them in the closet or under the bed, or we put them in a pile over there, or shove them in a pile in the corner in the living room. Sometimes we'll put them in like a laundry basket or whatever. And my thought was there's no zone for toys. And even if there was proper toy zoning going on in the bedroom, the kids are naturally putting their toys and playing them in the living room. So you need to have a zone for toys in the living room too. Same as the kitchen. Crayons, markers, coloring things. I said, okay, well, where do your homework station, like where, or your crafting station, where did these things go? And she's like, there's, I guess the markers go maybe in that drawer over there. And like, she's like, sometimes we keep the craft supplies like on the shelf in the closet over there. And then over here, there was no zone for kids crafts. And so this is what I mean when I talk about zoning. It isn't even about the organization. It's where does this category of stuff belong? Where's its home? Before we even think about setting up and getting containers and making stuff, little, I'm going to put all the beads here. I'm going to put the beads here. Where's the overall home for all the craft supplies? And it can't be that room. Okay. In that room, what wall, what piece of furniture, what closet, where's the structure here? So we build the framework first in our minds of where things are going to go, and then we worry about organization. But if we don't have an idea of the zone, we can't possibly get organized. So I hope this is making like a little bit of sense. And then we can like get really zony more than that. But on a big approach, like on a big picture look, when we look at a room and we see a bunch of random clutter, the first thing I always think is, where's the zone for the toys in this room? Because the toys are in this room. So we need to zone a spot. And usually if it's a living room, like in this situation, where she doesn't want it to look like a toy room, she doesn't want toys everywhere. I personally, she had a TV console unit that was like basically empty. I would have slid baskets in there and zoned the bottom of that for toys. And whatever fits, that's what they can keep in the living room. All the other stuff is going to be kept in the bedroom. Or I would have looked for a coffee table with storage, one that had baskets or a flip up lid, and that would have been zoned for a few living room toys, or end tables would have been zoned. There was also a closet in that room. Perfect, right? Space to zone for kids' toys. And then looking in the kitchen, there was like here, there, and everywhere. And there was cabinets with just like random, basically just everything shoved in it right beside the table. I would have zoned that for kids' arts and crafts. And then that it's like, okay, well, that's where the home should be. It's the closest to where we use it. And then the stuff in there, I would have relocated, donated, decluttered, kind of made room, and just zone. So I zone one space at a time. And it does sometimes look a lot like stuff shuffling, because it is stuff shuffling. When you're first creating zones, you're literally like moving, shifting, which is why the decluttering comes first. Because when you do a really good job of like, when I'm working with clients, or when you're working with clients, I do a big declutter first, which means a lot of cabinets are half empty. There's a lot of extra space now. So when I create zones and I'm shifting, it's really easy to like, but like, I'll put this category in this category in this cabinet, and I freed up another empty cabinet to be the zone for whatever it is that I need to create a home for. So decluttering first, and then we're looking at zones. And zoning the garage is tough because garages are empty boxes and don't have storage. But you've already zoned it. Like looking at this right now, you've already zoned it. So you're going to have a zone for hockey. You're probably also going to, beside the hockey, have a zone for sports, because that makes sense. So like one section is where all the hockey stuff goes. You're probably going to put all the sporting equipment there. Cars have a zone, obviously, where you park. And then shoes. Definitely the shoes are going to be closest to the door where you're coming in, and you need a zone for it, which means it's like, where's the wall space right by the door? And then that's where you're going to zone for shoes. Now you know, because that's the zone for shoes, what's the biggest shoe storage that you can get that will fit that zone. But you can't just go to the store and buy shoe storage without knowing what wall it's going on first, without knowing how much space you have first. So you have to zone before you even think about purchasing anything or like organizing anything. Like, where is its home in this space? Because we organize for the space, not the stuff. And so everything, when I, especially as like a business owner and a professional organizer, when I'm going into somebody's home, the only thing my brain is thinking about at first is, first I do the hoarder's test. Then I'm thinking, okay, how can I zone this space? I don't even know what they have. I'm not thinking about what containers I have to buy. I'm thinking, okay, how can I zone this space and make it more functional right off the bat? I need a zone for this. I need a zone for this. I need a zone for that. I need a zone for that. Now I think, okay, can I use a piece of furniture they already have for toy storage? Because we need a zone for toy storage. Yes or no, do I need to buy something? Okay, I need a zone for obvious craft supplies because it's a clutter here. I need a zone for a command center. Do they have a wall space? But the first thing is like, I got to zone a spot for their papers and their bills. Where are they naturally piling it? I look there and I think, okay, I need the zone to be close to there. And in this case, there was no wall close to there. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do like a countertop command center because that's where they're naturally piling. So let me know if you're picking up what I'm putting down, if this is making sense. What I've created in the past, we called this a macro category guide, but it's also really a zoning guide. So what this does is break down, and you can find this on my website. It's a free printable, but you guys know also you get all your printables for free as part of being an organizing expert. You have the big category, which is the room, the bathroom, the kitchen, the office. And then under that, I've broken it into kind of little categories or little zones within there. You really want to think of your space in this way. Okay, you guys want to know what the hoarder's test is? Or if you have any other idea if you have any other questions about zoning, I would happily answer that. But I think the hoarder's test is important to do when you're working with clients. I have to say though, you may, if you're running a business and you're working with clients, you may be in an area where you don't have to do a lot of decluttering. You may be hired just to create organizing solutions. So set up a custom closet for someone, set up a brand new kitchen for someone. That's awesome. I live in a very blue collar area, and most of the calls I would get for organization were people who had extreme amounts of clutter. They were at their wits' end. They could barely move in the space. They didn't have a ton of money, but they really needed professional help. So I'm coming from a place where I would say 90% of my clients had a lot of clutter. So I had to declutter. No amount of organization is going to make their stuff fit, right? I could buy all the bins and stack them and label them. That's not going to help them. That's just making houses for their clutter. That's what that's doing. That's just like stuff shuffling it into containers. That is not organization. That is not going to make their life better. So I do the hoarder's test to know if I can work with them. And basically what this looks like is I go into their home, I talk about what's working, what's not. We kind of take a tour of the house. I'm kind of trying to get their organizing style, but if they have a lot of clutter, it's pretty much pointless. But I can probably gauge if they're a really detailed or a laid back person at this point. I can probably tell if they're like hidden or detailed, but I can't 100% nail down their organizing style when they're living with a lot of clutter. But here's what this looks like. So as I'm talking to them, I'll just casually ask, how do you feel about letting go? Like, is decluttering easy for you? Is it hard for you? And after they answer, I will look around and I will randomly pick something up. And I will say, okay, I'm going to leave with this today. I'm going to take this with me and I'm going to drop this off at a charity shop. Is that okay? If I take this and donate this? Like, how does that make you feel? And if they're like, no, you can't, I love that. You can't take that. That's one. I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. Sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to take and I'll pick something else random, a random thing, and say, is it okay if I take this? Is it okay if this gets decluttered? Like, can I drop it off at the donation center when I go today? If they say no again, I pick one more thing. And this time I'm really looking for something that to me is not a big deal. Like all three of these things, I'm looking for things. I'm not looking for trash, but I'm looking for something that isn't necessarily special. So an example is the last house that I went to. The first thing I picked up was like this. It was a I mean, this room was filled to the max. Okay, you couldn't even walk in this room. She wanted it to be a craft room. There was no other space in the house. I picked up this like little kid's, I don't know, like stool. It was like this big. She doesn't even have kids that live with her. She didn't want to get rid of that. So then I'm looking and I pick up like this empty box that's like a decorative box, but it's empty. And she's like, no, I want to make something with that. And I was like, okay. So then I pick up, you guys, a package of napkins. It was like fall napkins. It had leaves on it. It was obviously like from the dollar store. And I was like, okay, can I take this with me? You have so much in here. Can I just take these napkins because we got to make room for the stuff that matters? And she's like, oh no, I love napkins. No, I just love napkins. No. And she had like a stack of 10 other napkins. So I instantly know I can't work with her. Right? She failed I call it the hoarder test. If someone is unwilling to get rid of 3 things in a row that are seemingly things like, I'm not saying it isn't hard, but they're not willing at all to get things, then they're not ready. They're not ready to make a transformation. They've failed the test and I cannot work with them. And I don't tell them this test before going in because I don't want them to say yes just so I work with them and then I'm stuck in a situation of, having to drag things from their cold dead hands, and it just spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and you only get rid of one trash bag. Like that's not helpful for either one of us. That's not the type of organizer I want to be. I want to give you an incredibly simplified and functional space. And I want to be able to give it to you fast and not make your house a mess and have you take a bunch of time off work. You have to be ready for the type of service that I give. So, that's kind of what I do for the hoarders test. Now, I'm not suggesting you have to do this as a professional organizer. You might be a person who wants to specialize in someone who really struggles to let go and you do it slow and you take a more, exposure therapy approach to like, good job, you got rid of one piece of trash. That isn't my style. It's not what I'm there to do. So that is the test that I personally do. But honestly, I think as a business owner and as a professional organizer, everyone's different. And maybe you have a different specialty and different things that are important to you. And so you don't have to do my hoarder test. That's just what I've found over the years to be a very effective way of gauging someone's willingness to let go. And even though someone has their home and it's stuffed to the brim, does not mean that they're a hoarder at all. I have had so many clients where you couldn't even walk in the room, but they are ready and willing to make a change. They're done with it. They're like, okay, I'm not going to get rid of anything super, super special, but I am open to just clearing this out and starting my life fresh. That happens all the time. So we do not judge. I do not judge someone based on the way their home looks when I walk in, ever. It could be like there's only a tiny little path and I can barely get in. I don't care because if I pick up something and say, hey, can I take this with me? And they say, you can take everything with you. I don't care. I'm like, and I'm here for you, babe. And we're going to do this together because I can work with them. So, does this make sense? Trying again says, how do you do the hoarder test by yourself? Like for yourself? I don't know. Like, well, if you want to do the hoarder test for yourself right now, you just look around, you pick up something, and can you go put it in the garbage can? Can you not trash, but can you look around and pick something up and go and just get rid of it? Something that you know you don't really use. If the answer is no, try something else. If the answer is no, you try a third time. If you cannot identify something in your space in 60 seconds that can leave, you probably fail the test. For me, to work with me, again, everybody's super different. How or when do you tell them that you can't work with them? So I would never say it to them in that case. We always, what I always say is, okay, awesome. I loved this first consultation. I've got a couple things in mind, but I also have other people houses that I have to go and meet with and other clients. So I'm going to get back to you in a couple of days and let you know my schedule. Again, thank you so much for letting me into your home. It was lovely to meet you, and I'll be in touch really soon. And then I leave. If I know that I can work with the person, I will immediately set up a schedule. But if they failed the hoarder test, I don't want to embarrass them. I will tell them I'll get in touch with them, and then I'll send them an email later and just say, I'm really busy. I have a lot of clients currently that I'm working with, and I don't feel like they're in a place where they're really ready for my services. And then I'll list other organizers in my area that specialize in a hoarder situation, a slow, steady, exposure therapy approach, which is starting with trash, starting with easy things, slowly building up the muscles. One day they might get rid of 5 things with you, and then they come back next week and maybe it's 10 things. And it's beautiful, but it isn't what I do. That's not my specialty. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah, and some people just have to be ready, and I'm at a place too where I'm not a therapist, and if somebody needs that, I'm not the best person to give that to them. So that's not what I'm doing in my business. My specialty is walking into a space and being able to identify what the function, like where it isn't functional, what's not working, and why isn't it working? And how can I design a space for you that catches your clutter where you're naturally putting it down? That's my specialty. But before I can even set up that system, I got to clear away the excess. Now, I am not the type of organizer that is a gentle clear away the excess. I am a tough love. I'm here to help you. Are you ready or not? I'm going to make your house amazing, but we're not keeping crap you don't use. You're in control. You make all the decisions, but I'm also going to say you can't keep everything. So 50% of this has to go. You get to pick what that 50% is. It's none of my business, but I can't help you unless we let it go. So that's kind of like, I know that sounds really brutal. I say it much nicer and much easier than than that. But that's just the truth, right? My specialty is designing a functional space based on how people naturally live in their home and the natural flow of the home and the space that they currently have, and doing it on a budget, working with the stuff that they have to make the most functional space. So I will go and I will open all their kitchen cabinets, and I will stand back and I will say, have them stand beside me, and I'll say, tell me where you stand when you're preparing dinner. Tell me where you stand where you're baking. Point to me where you stand when you're making your kids' lunches. Point to me where your kids do their homework. And I'll stand back and I'm like, show me when you walk in the house. I'll give them papers in their hands too. And I'll like, come in and show me where you put your bills down and your purse down. Show me how you live in your house. And then I will zone based on that. Okay, you need a zone here for your command center and like your landing zone. Okay, you need a zone there for lunch making. You need a zone there. Why is your coffee maker there and your mug's over here? Why are you walking across? Why is your dishwasher here and your plates and glasses are across the kitchen over there? That ain't working. That's crazy pants. We're zoning your dishes really close to your dishwasher. Done. I want you to be as lazy as possible in your home. You're taking as few steps as possible. You're moving as little as possible to put things away. That is my specialty, and it's all about zoning. So I literally will like have paper with me. I'll stand back, I'll ask them all these things, and I'll just sketch. This is where this zone's going to be. This is where this is where this. And then I'll say, do we have stuff to work with to create these zones currently in this space? Can I use this TV stand? Can I use those cabinets? Can I relocate the food and make this for whatever I need? What's in this closet currently? Because it's the perfect closet for kids' toys or whatever it is. Another house that I just went to had a bunch, they had a small kitchen, 2 whole cabinets filled with medicine, band-aids, first aid supplies, all this stuff. I walk around the corner outside the bathroom, right at the other side, and they have a closet that is literally filled with blankets they never use. And I'm like, stop. We're zoning that. You can keep like one for your daily medications if you're using them in the kitchen. Cool, cool, cool. But we don't need cough medicine in the kitchen that you use 3 times a year. We don't need all this. You know what I'm saying? We can zone a small section for the medication you use that you're actually taking daily. The rest, we're going to zone all your first aid and medical supplies in a better spot. And now instantly we actually have stuff and room in the kitchen. So does this make sense? Hopefully this makes sense. Do you guys have any other questions? Tina says, you looked at the hoarding test. You don't think you're a hoarder. You've accumulated a lot of projects and tools that you want to use. You just don't know how to use, but they are not junk, free, etc. Yeah, so that's the whole thing. If your space is so full that you can't put everything away. You can't give everything a home. And remember, piles aren't a home. On surfaces isn't a home. On the floor is not a home. And shoved in a spare room is not a home. Where's the zone for those things? Is it going in a closet? Is it going in a cabinet? Is it going in a dresser? Is it going in an armoire? If you can't fit everything you own into some place in your home, it's too much to fit. Not like I'm going to buy totes. That is not organization. That's just shuffling it into a bin. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't matter if it's junk. It's not. Decluttering doesn't mean we're just getting rid of junk. Decluttering means we're getting rid of the excess. And I know it's good, and I know it might cost money, but if you can't fit it into the home you have today, it's not working for you. It's just making your life harder. And you've got to make those tough choices. And we pick our least favorites to go. And if you can't identify, like, you have a bunch of supplies and someday you're going to craft with it. If you can't pick up one of those things, even if it's good, even if you could turn it into something amazing, you don't have space for it. If you can't take that and donate it, personally, I couldn't work with you because I don't feel like you're ready yet. So decluttering, getting rid of things does not mean just garbage and trash and junk. It also means letting go of good things that are useful. You're just not using them right now, and you can't keep everything. You can't. You can keep anything you want, but you can't keep everything you want. It just won't fit. And that's just the reality of everyone's situation, unfortunately. And I know it isn't fair, and I know it feels awful. And I'm not even saying it's easy, because it's not. It's hard. It's really hard. But we can't live in a space that's so full there's no room for living. And if you don't have space, you're probably not crafting and making or doing music or enjoying or having friends over or baking or doing these things you actually want to do, these wonderful, using these cool stuff that you have in your home because you don't have space to do it. I went to another person, a potential client's home, and she had a whole entire wall filled with puzzles. She's like, I love doing puzzles. It's her favorite thing. She's always buying puzzles. She did not have one spot in her home to do a puzzle. Every surface was covered and stacked and piled, and every surface. Even if she cleared stuff off, she didn't even have a table big enough to make a puzzle because she got rid of her big table so she could put lots of bookshelves to hold all her craft supplies and all her things, because she also wanted to craft and she wanted to do all these different hobbies. But now she has no space for any of those hobbies. And she failed the test because I grabbed one puzzle off of her hundreds of puzzles and she said no. So then I grabbed like a bag of pipe cleaners and I was like, can I take this with me? And she's like, no, we can use those for my kids. Those are perfectly good. It's brand new, not even opened. And I picked up one more thing and I was like, can I take this and donate this? And she's like, no, I really want that for something else. Well, that's the thing. It isn't like it isn't about hoarding, isn't about garbage and dead cats. It's about having more stuff than fits in your home and the inability to let any of it go, even though we know it doesn't fit. Somehow this all turned into hoarding instead of talking about zoning. And I apologize for that, but I do think that this is important, especially as professionals. If any of you guys do decide to do this professionally, or even helping friends and family, or let's be honest, working on yourself, your own home, it's really important that you're able to identify when people are having real trouble letting go. Because if you're having real trouble letting go, and in total denial and I just need more shelving and I just need to get organized, or I just need to like rent a storage locker. Someday I'll have a house big enough to be able to have all this stuff. You're not really ready for the next step, because the first step is letting go. That felt uncomfortable to say, but that's true. Okay, Cheryl. It's not easy. I'm not even going to downplay it at all. If you struggle to let go and you have excess, it is going to be the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. But we start by building our muscles by looking for things that are like actual trash and like obvious things that can go. And then we move to our least favorites. We can't keep it all, because whatever you've zoned for craft supplies. So where do you want your craft supplies to live? And if it's like this room, but it's full and I can't even walk in here, right? Well, then you need half of it has to leave. 50% minimum has to go. So we start identifying our least favorites right away. We don't do that by sorting. We do that by like, okay, looking, I got to do it. I got to pick something. Something has to go. You can do this, friends. Oh, I should add this to the course. I should have a whole section on the hoarder's test. And I should, you know what? I've thought about this so many times when I'm actually doing this when I first go into a client's home. But if they fail, I can't work with them. And I'd feel really bad recording them and using that failure and like putting that online, because I don't work with them if they fail the test. So that's why I've never shown you that in any video I've done on YouTube, because if they fail the test, I can't work with them. And I don't I don't film that initial consultation with them because most of the time it ends up that I can't work with them for whatever reason. I turn down a lot more people than I'll 90%. 90% of the homes that I go to, I don't work with. More than that, 95% of the homes that I go to, I don't work with. So I spend a lot of time scouting houses and then not end up doing those houses for a makeover, unfortunately. And even virtual clients, like right now, I'm working with Lauren again. The first time I worked with her in the garage, she was nailing it. She was like doing it. She was doing great, super great. We moved to her shop. She's like, her total demeanor changed and she fell into this victim. It's not fair. I'm never going to have the space I want. And I was like, okay, no one's coming to rescue you though, Lauren. You put on a cape and rescue yourself. We're going to start by zoning your space. And I gave her homework. Honestly, when I come back and I feel really bad because I actually have grown really attached with her and I've worked with her and I consider her a friend now and I genuinely am rooting for her. But the next time if I came back, if she can't identify things that are going to go through our virtual coaching, I cannot work with her because she can't even walk in her shop. If things can't go, if she can't be willing to, like, she wants it so bad, but not bad enough to get rid of things and really come to the realization that it can't all fit. It's impossible. I can't make the walls grow. It's impossible to fit. She's just not ready and I can't work with her. So I'm not qualified. I'm not qualified to help someone I'm not a mental health professional. So if somebody is at the point where they can't let go of anything, I'm an organizer and I help people declutter when they have the willingness to let go and declutter. I don't have the capabilities, right? I could hire an actor. Hey, that's a good idea. Okay, Marcy over here on Facebook, what zoning would be the best to designate a space? Your I don't know what a WFH is. Craft office, craft room, cat room. I don't know what that is. Okay, is this your work from home? Aha, smarty pants. Work from home, office, craft room, cat room. Okay, so first of all, the most important thing you're doing in this space is working from home. So you're zoning the spot for work. And we don't mix work and craft unless it's the desk space, and that's fine. But ideally, we wouldn't even do that because the truth is, if you start a crafting project, you're not going to want to clean it up to work. And if you're working from home, that is top priority because you're probably doing that every day. So, where is your work desk? And so you're zoning that, and where are the supplies you need to work from home? Where is that zone? So your office supplies that you use on a regular basis. It's got to be close. You got to zone that. So usually I would zone like one wall with the desk. I'm zoning that desk, and that's for work. Now, where is the zone for crafts? Where are you going to craft? And if it's like, well, I don't have room in this space for 2 desks, okay, can we zone the craft supplies in the closet? Can we give you a cart that you can move beside so you can still like leave your supplies and zone it out, right? We have to think of that next. So where is that zone going to be? And then where's the cat litter box? I don't know if that's in here. Like, is that uber important in this space? Is there another space that we can dedicate for the cat's supplies? Because number 1 priority is work from home. Number 2 priority is crafts. Sorry, cat, but your stuff can probably be relocated to another spot. And then we start by zoning the work from home space first. So giving that priority and moving that stuff into that space, and we do that first. We always do the most important thing first. And do we have the the stuff in this room now? Do we need to get extra stuff? Can the closet, is it close to where the desk area is? Do we have to move the desk area in order to be closer to the storage we currently have, like the closet for the things we use all the time? Marcy says cat sleeps in that room. So the cat needs something. Food, water, litter is all in there too. Okay, well, then again, though, but also your workspace comes first. So that gets top priority zone. Do you want to work under a window? Do you want to have a view? Do you want your desk under the window? That needs to be zoned. You need to think about all of that when creating your work from home zone. And then you just get a piece of paper and you sketch it out. And certainly, if you have stuff in there that isn't craft or work or cat, it does not belong in there. It can't also be a guest room. It can't also be where you store toys when your grandkids come to visit. It can't also be where you keep your, I don't know, gifts that you want to give for people at Christmas. Like if you don't have space for all of those things, you have to zone a spot for certain other categories that are in here somewhere else. You need to relocate those and create a zone for them somewhere else in the house. Priorities for the zones. Tina, you're committing to zoning your space before the next time your friend comes over to help you organize. Yes, zone is priority. First, declutter. Just like you're going to declutter again when you organize, but like an all over declutter. Does that make sense? Like an editing, like a thinning of the space has to happen first. Then we zone. Then while we're organizing, we declutter again. Because if it doesn't fit in the space, you have to pick your favorites and you got to declutter again. So there's like 2 phases to decluttering. If you're not comfortable with the Clutterbug styles, can you go with your own style instincts? Sure, abso-freaking-lutely. There's no wrong way. There's no wrong way to organize. But the first thing that we got to do right off the bat, anyways, is declutter. I mentally zone a client's space just to decide what they really need, like function wise. And then I'm going in there and I'm like, okay, what you really need is a command center. And you filled that space with XYZ. So what's going to go so I can give you the space for what you really need is a spot for your papers. Yeah, Dana's got a decluttering method for those who have a hard time letting go, that the no mess method. Heather, listen, that's a completely different approach. I personally wouldn't want to spend weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks with one client making a little tiny bit of progress. I don't have weeks to spend with clients doing, that's not the approach that I want to take. That's not the organizer I want to be. Maybe it is the organizer you want to be. Can they afford to pay you for that? In my experience, if I'm charging someone even $25 an hour, can they afford 50 hours with me? Because if I'm doing this slow exposure therapy, just let's get rid of 10 things today, but it took an hour approach, they're going to have to spend thousands of dollars with me over weeks, probably months, let's be really honest, to get to a place where they have a functional home. And there are definitely people out there who can afford that and who need that. Probably not something I want to do. it isn't the type of organizing that I want to do. Mm, can we talk about organizing, decluttering the last 10%? You got rid of all the obvious stuff. How do you push more? That's your challenge. I get it, man. I don't know if you've done the 30-day, the 5 things. I feel like that's helpful for me to give myself a limit and just keep chipping away, just keep peeling back another layer of the onion. So today I'm going to find 5 things from my bathroom cabinets that can go. Tomorrow I'm going to find 5 things from my craft supplies that can go. I'm going to find 5 things from my dresser that can go. That's kind of like that push, giving yourself that number, that limit, setting like pushing yourself. The 21 item toss really helped me with the last 10%, really helped me. So I had to find 21 items to go. And then I would just do that again and again. And it could be through my whole house, but it just like really pushed me with a set number of things to do that last 10%. And I still, honestly, I still could go further, but everything fits. Everything in my home fits and everything has a home. Some of those homes are just a little too full and have things that I'm not really using that are kind of getting in the way of the things that I do use. I know this. I'm certainly not perfect, but at least everything has a home. It's easy to find, it's easy to put away. And that to me is like the elf in the shelf in the drawer. I'm not going to. I'm not getting rid of him. I love him. He's not useful, but I love him. Someday I might. Someday I will probably get rid of him. For some reason, you think the brutal approach. You've definitely been going slow in your house, and that's okay too. But I don't have patience. Oh, I don't have patience. I just want to skip to the good part. I just want to move on. I just want to like enjoy my life and do the things I want to do. I actually want to craft and I actually want to, have time for XYZ, and I want to be able to just go in my kitchen and like bake whenever I want to bake and I don't have to move stuff first. And if I'm working with somebody, I just want them to skip to the good part too. Enough is enough. If you've called me, it's because you're sick of living in your house the way that it is. And let's just get you there. Let's get you to functional, really functional, and let's get you there as fast as possible. Let's create a house that's easy. That you can do the stuff you actually love to do and want to do in the space and cut out all the bull crap that's getting in the way. It might be good stuff. It might be even worth money. But if it isn't serving you, it can't stay in your house because you don't have room for it. And stop. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Yeah, we're just cutting out the noise. We're just being really honest with ourselves, brutally honest with ourselves, and we're not making excuses. And we're not playing the victim. And there's a ton of different approaches that work for a ton of different people. So if that's not even the organizer you want to be or the approach that works for you, we try something else. I'm not saying that this is the be all end all and the only way that works. Absolutely not. That's not the truth. There's a million different approaches and you can come up with your own approach. Not good at math, but how do you come up with the percentage of how much needs to let go? So for me, this is just experience, but I'll tell you this right off the bat. Here's basically like for me, I'm not good at math either. But if I'm walking into a home and the closets are already full and the cabinets are already full and the surfaces are already full and there's stuff on the floor, I know right off the bat that, like, if it's a little bit full, I know 25% needs to go. If I'm walking into a space and there is there's bins lining the walls and it's like waist high, most of the floor is still clear, but there's like bins and piles lining all the edges, and plus all the cabinets are full, and plus all of the closets are full. And now we've created another layer, which is what I kind of call it. Like they're starting to pile and make a second layer on top of the layer, which is like their actual living space. I know 50% of the stuff needs to go. If I walk into a space and there is a path and it is to my eyeballs everywhere I look, and it's like you can hardly walk in, I know 70 to 75% of the stuff needs to go. Does that make sense? Like it's like layers deep. So if it's just like surface layer and it's not all over the floor and it's just kind of like a little bit on the counter and everything's kind of full and there's like a little bit of surface layer, it's probably 25% of the things need to go. Is my home easy to keep up? I do think it is. I think it's easy to keep up because there isn't one room that I can't, if it's like things laying out, it takes 5 minutes or less to put everything away and everything can fit away. So in under 5 minutes, I can tidy any room in my house, no matter how bad it is right now. And that to me makes it easy. Most of the time, because nothing's really super full and I've created system where it's just as easy. Like when you come in the back door, there's hooks for the coats. It's just as easy to hang it on the hook as it is to drop it on the floor because the hook's right there and there's nothing in the way. You're just walking in and it's right there. It's just when I walk in and I've got my shoes, I literally can kick them into the open cubby or I can drop them into the bin and nothing's so full that I have to push anything out of the way or shift anything or open a lid or move things around to put things away. So that to me feels really easy. When I come in and I've got my papers, I've got a place to just drop it. It's a little command center thingy that I just drop it in and I don't have to move anything. I don't have to shuffle anything. It's easy. So it feels easy to keep up because I don't have any excess. Wow, you've helped people, but unless they're hiding things, you've never cut that deep, 75%. Like you've never helped people declutter 75%? Yeah, then that's actually awesome. You've never probably been to a place where it's like you can't even walk into the room. So Matt and Amy, I don't know if you've seen that as an example, where we went into their storage room and I could barely open the door. And yet all the shelving that they had was super full and it was a waist high pile and I could barely open the door. So not only was like the outer storage full where they had the shelving, but then the next level deep, like the lining beside that shelving was full all the way to the middle full. And we got rid of more than 75% of their stuff. We had to because it's math. The perimeter of the room was full and the area of the room was full. So like this side times this side. We're not just using addition like 10 feet by 10 feet by 10 feet. It's like 10 feet times 10 feet because the floor filled all the way up was full. Again, math is not my strong point, but like it had, right? Yeah. Ellen says for some people it can be 40 to 50%. Like it really depends on if all the spots to put the stuff is already full and then the next layer's already full and then the whole floor is full. Yeah, guys, like if most of the room is full of stuff, then most of the stuff has to go. If you can't walk in it, then most of the stuff has to go. It feels brutal to say, but that's just the reality of the situation because we can't make the walls bigger. We just can't. Oh, this is so good, Jenny. Sometimes it's hard to distinguish the difference between having depression or hard, easy to maintain. If it's hard to keep up or just sad and not getting done that much. That's a really good point. So for me, I had to be like, I had to do something every night before bed for at least 15 minutes. And at first, that wasn't enough to tackle my kitchen, especially because I'd have to spend a lot more than that to like find room for everything. Cause I was like, it won't even, if I did all my dishes, I still had to have some stuff on the counter. Like I couldn't even fit it all. The food that I had to like stack it neatly in the corner. I had to have cases of pop on the floor. I had to have cases of water stacked somewhere. I had to have the extra Costco supplies, like bin packages of things stored in like a closet around the corner. It wouldn't all fit. And all of that just took up time. Do you know what I'm saying? So, yeah. I think it would be hard to distinguish, like, does my house look like this? Because it's not easy to organize, but it isn't hard to say my house looks like this because I don't have room for it all to fit. Like that should be easy to know the difference. Is this stuff all over the place because I'm not putting it away? Or is this stuff all over the place because there's no room for it to go away? There is no away. Away has to be piles on the floor, or it has to be stacked in corners, or it has to be shoved in a room, a storage room somewhere. Like away has to still, it just is like maybe stacking neater, but it still doesn't have a home to go because it just doesn't fit. There's no possible place to put it because I don't have any room. And maybe I can buy more shelving, but do I even have room for the shelves to go? Like if you've already piled it waist high, having a shelf isn't because you're packing it full, right? Like you're not gaining any more room by having a shelf. You're just making it easier to access. But if it's already piled waist high, that's more than will fit on a shelf. You can fit more in a pile than you can neat on a shelf. And that's just all there is to it. Okay, friends. This was super random. But I'm excited. I'm excited if any of you guys are doing the all-day declutter as part of the Take Your House Back, because I feel like this is a good time to get lots of stuff out while body doubling with other people to make a real impact. But also, are you ready? And we've never really talked about that, and I certainly haven't talked about that in the experts group. Are you mentally ready to let go of enough that it'll make a difference? Are you ready to let go of enough stuff that's good and useful and could be used in your home so that everything can have a place to go easily in the home you live in now? That doesn't mean you're renting a storage locker or whatever, right? Are you ready? because you gotta be to get to a place where you can organize. You got to declutter first, and that's all there is to it. Unless you're just gonna keep, kicking that can down the road until you are ready, I guess, or working with a professional that can help you with exposure therapy, which is slowly letting go of the anxiety until you get to a point where you are ready. Because any way you look at it, it's never going to happen until you let the stuff go that you have too much of. And that's just the reality of the situation that all of us were in when we struggle with a really messy home. Okay, friends. Love you so much. It's 10. So I'm going to answer this one last question and then I'm going to bounce and go to bed. Is there a limit to how many zones one room should have, like a living room? I don't think there's a limit necessarily, because you could be like really micro zoning your zones, but big zones, there's probably only 4 walls in your room. So in your living room, you've got a zone for watching TV. Maybe you've got a zone for playing video games. Maybe you have a zone for crafts. Maybe you have a zone for working, but now you're starting to really stretch it out. I mean, in your craft zone, maybe you have a zone for kids' crafts and you have a zone for adult crafts, or you have a zone for painting. But big crafts, right? Big zone of like watching TV, family time. Like maybe in your toy zone, you might have a zone for like puzzles and a zone for superheroes and a zone for Barbies. But big categories like watching TV or crap probably don't want more than you have each wall. Does that make sense? Yeah. Because you only have the spots that's available. You only have the space that you have. That's all there is to it, friends. We can't grow our walls. We can't make our house bigger. We can only make it more functional. Okay, I'm going to let you guys go. Have a super great night. I hope I see some of you on Saturday for the all-day declutter. If you want to Take Your House Back, if you haven't joined already, it's only on sale until tomorrow. So if you're thinking about it, I mean, again, you got to be ready though. Don't buy it if you're not at a place. If you fail the hoarder's test right now doing it for yourself, don't even waste your money, right? Don't, because you're not ready yet. And that's okay. That's okay, because there's other resources that you can look to help you get ready. There's no shame in not being ready. We just have to look at other resources and other avenues that can help you get ready for the next step, which is radically reducing the inventory that you have in your home. Okay. Thank you guys so much. Hope to see you on Saturday, and we'll see you guys next time.